Welcome back to the Big Blue Breakdown. I'm Paul Dottino as we go through the three key matchups for the New York Football Giants as they get ready to take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at MetLife Stadium on Sunday. Well, first of all, as far as the state of the Giants, we all know that they're going back to quarterback Tommy DeVito to be their starter, and Daniel Jones has been bumped down to third string. No sense in wasting any more time talking about that. You've heard about it all week. But here's what we do know. The Giants have had all of their players, at least on a limited participation status, practicing all week. It's amazing how suddenly the team is actually getting healthy after the bye, right? Well, Kayvon Thibodeau says he expects to play. He had the wrist surgery that kept him out for a bit over a month. The cast and everything's been removed, and he's actually looked good, according to head coach Brian Daboll, and the Giants are very optimistic about him facing the Bucs. Also, wide receiver Darius Slayton is out of the concussion protocol. He has been practicing, and it looks like he'll be a full go for Sunday as well. So the Giants, at the very least, will have a full shoebox of players as they prepare for this game and get ready to kick things off on Sunday. Now, we all know that it's been a rough go. They are 2-8. They are coming off of a 5-game skid as they come back from this bye week. A couple of items, though, to understand is that they've had some good things going for them. Tyrone Tracy, in the last 6 games since he's been installed as the primary running back, has 3 100-yard rushing games for the season at just about 550 rushing yards. But here's the thing. He is tied for 7th in the NFL at just over 5 yards per carry. So this is a young man who, if he continues to excel over the final 7 games, has a legitimate opportunity to be a 1,000-yard rusher. So that's kind of exciting. We also know that Malik Neighbors, despite the fact that he missed a little bit of time, is still in the top 10 in receiving at 61 receptions, and he's got 2 100-yard games to his credit. And now, although he's got to work with a different quarterback, the hope is that maybe he'll be able to catch fire. Finally, the other thing to note is that as we look at all of the different key statistical categories for the Giants, still they have only allowed 22 points a game, which is tied for 16th in the league, smack in the middle. So despite the rushing woes where they've given up over 5 yards a carry and they're giving up nearly 150 yards rushing on the ground per week, things are working well enough for this defense, specifically in the red zone. Ironically, the offense is having a ton of trouble in the red zone, but the defense in the red zone has been terrific, only giving up a touchdown percentage of 46% on red zone opportunities. That is tied for 5th best in the National Football League. All right, let's go over what's going on with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and examine the state of Todd Bowles' team. They have lost 4 in a row to drop to 4-6. 5th in the NFL, averaging 28 points a game on offense, but they're giving up 27 points a game on defense, which puts them at 27th. So as you can tell, that's why it's been kind of an up and down and disappointing season for even the folks down in Florida. They were kind of figuring that they would be a team that would have strong playoff possibilities, but right now at 2 games under 500, well, there's a lot of heat being turned up in that kitchen as well. Now, they've had some injuries. To be fair, let's discuss it. Mike Evans has missed 3 games. Their outstanding wide receiver, hamstring issue. That's been a problem. Left tackle Tristan Wirfs has been battling a sore MCL. Chris Godwin, another one of their terrific wide receivers, lost for the season with an ankle injury. We go to the defensive side, and their secondary has been banged up. Zion McCollum has a sore hamstring, their left cornerback, and their nickel, Tyke Smith, has been battling a sore knee. These are all issues that have kind of helped sidetrack the Buccaneers just a little bit. And, even rookie Chris Braswell, who came out of Alabama, a lot of people thought the second-round pick would have an immediate impact. He's not playing a whole lot, maybe a dozen plays a game. He is also nursing a sore oblique, and he was supposed to give them some life and inject something into a badly needed shot in the arm for their pass rush. Has not really happened. All right, so as far as the Bucs are concerned, this 4-game losing streak has them falling to the Ravens, the Falcons, the Chiefs, and the 49ers. Now, you could debate how you feel about the Falcons being up and down this year, but certainly the Ravens, the Chiefs, and the 49ers appear to be postseason teams. So nothing to sneeze at that they would lose to those teams. That's been a pretty tough run in terms of the schedule. Here's what we can tell you, though. They do have 70 missed tackles on defense, which is tied for the 10th most in the NFL. They appear to have slowed down. The pass rush is not what they wanted it to be. And Lavonte David, who's now in his mid-30s, he's been, for the most part, Mr. Buccaneer for the last decade. Doesn't have quite the same range that he used to have, even against offensive players coming out of the backfield. So that's something that's got to be addressed as they try to move forward and see if they can get back into a playoff chase. They do blitz 29% of the time on passing plays, 7th most in the league. So Todd Bowles and company have not lost their spots. They will continue to be aggressive. They will certainly try to do everything they can to rattle young Tommy DeVito in only his second NFL season. I also think it's worth mentioning that the Bucs have become a very, very heavily influenced passing game attack. Now, why do I say that? Well, Baker Mayfield has 4 300-yard games this season. He's got over 2,500 passing yards, which is 9th in the league. But he's got 24 touchdown passes, 3rd most in the NFL. He has certainly been throwing it around the yard. Also with 9 interceptions that he's thrown, which is the 5th most in the NFL. Yeah, Mayfield is a gunslinger again. He's brazen and he's bold after resuscitating his career last season in Tampa Bay. And he's not showing any signs of slowing down. They are 68% in touchdown efficiency in the red zone, and that is the 3rd best in the NFL. All right, so what do you have to deal with when you look at the state of this team? Well, as I said, Baker Mayfield's winging it around. The Buccaneers also do have a bit of a balance to their attack in that they can run it when they want to. Bucky Irving, rookie running back, almost 500 rushing yards this year, and he's tied with the Giants' Tyrone Tracy at just over 5 yards a carry. So even though he has no 100-yard games on the year, when they want to occasionally run the ball, they can go to Irving. And so, yes, they can be effective. Yes, they can keep you honest, but make no mistake, they really do want to throw it around the yard a lot. All right, so that's where it stands in terms of the Buccaneers and kind of a quick overview and offensively what they're looking at. We mentioned Lavonte David just a short time ago. He does lead the team with 72 tackles. He's only got a couple of quarterback hits and 3 sacks. In fact, Cansey with 4. Vita Vea has 5 sacks. Those are the 2 leading pass rushing specialists. Vita Vea still a terrific player along that defensive front coming from the interior. But there's not a lot of bite coming from the outside in terms of that pass rush. So that's where it stands with the Buccaneers going into this game. As we break down the three key matchups to watch for the football Giants, I think the one that you have to look at, if for no other reason, because there needs to be a microscope to see just how quickly that Tay Banks is going to mature during the second half of the season. We know that there's been a couple of rough spots, as they say, as this young player continues to grow, growing pains, if you will. Well, let's see how Tay Banks does in this matchup. Mike Evans is certainly one of the most challenging, most accomplished wide receivers in the NFL that we've seen in the last decade. And even though he's missed 3 games with a hamstring injury, he has been practicing this week and is expected to start for Tampa. Now, in terms of what he's done this year, make no mistake about it, he's not quite the same player that he was in terms of some of the big plays, but here's what you have to keep in mind. A, he is still very, very dangerous near the goal line. And B, he has been one of the best 50-50 pass catchers that this league has seen in a long time. These are 2 areas where Tay Banks really has to focus and concentrate as he tries to contain this big play receiver. Evans, his best game so far this year was way back in September against Philadelphia with 8 catches for 94 yards and a touchdown. On the season, only 26 grabs for 335, but he is tied for 9th in the league. Check that. Tied for 4th in the NFL. How could I possibly say 9? With 6 touchdown receptions. That's a lot for anybody at this stage of the game. Yeah, he is tied for 4th. So, how will Banks deal with Evans's physicality? How will he deal with the length, with the hand fighting, with dealing with the grappling that you will have to do with Evans at the point of the pass reaching the target? The ball skills here are critical, and Evans is off the charts in terms of his ability to get the ball when it comes down into his box. This is where we're going to really take a look. Can Banks use his hands, hand fight, and do what's possible to knock passes away or knock them out of the hands of Evans? This is a great test. In addition, with Evans's size and his craftiness and his experience, he will try to do what he can do to dupe or fake out Banks near the end zone. We've seen some things happen with the Giants secondary near the end zone this year, specifically Banks. Let's see what he has learned as he goes against one of the master craftsmen of his position. So that's a real good matchup and a real interesting matchup for me to watch. Now, we also want to talk about, as we continue to look at the Buccaneers offense, because I think it really is the second key matchup to watch. Remember, the Buccaneers are still trying to hang in the periphery of a wild card race. Tight end Cade Otton is emerged as their primary passing target because of the injuries to Godwin and Evans. Otton, 49 catches on the season. Remember, Godwin is out. He's got 50 grabs, but next up is Otton. 456 yards and 4 touchdown grabs. He absolutely riddled the Ravens last month with a terrific performance of 8 catches for 166 yards. Now, since these injuries have occurred over the past month, he has been Mayfield's go-to guy to make big plays, in key spots, you name it. Otton has significantly picked up his production. Now, why is this an interesting facet for me? Well, it's not just because even though Evans is back and you figure, well, some of Otton's target share may go back to the outside. Okay, that's true. But why is this interesting to me? Well, because Otten is the kind of guy who I think is tailor-made to draw extra snaps and coverage from safety Isaiah Simmons. Now, I say safety, right? I joke about that. I still view Isaiah Simmons as a linebacker. The Giants view him, and rightfully so, as a money backer, a hybrid outside linebacker / safety. I believe they list him technically as a safety on their roster, and they're entitled to do that. The point is, Otten being a big weapon in this attack, a guy who Mayfield is going to look at time and time again, who better to match up with him when he goes out on his routes than Simmons? Simmons has speed, athleticism, length, coverage skills. You know, it's always been fashionable in years past for teams to put a safety on a tight end. And then occasionally, if that tight end is such an outstanding receiver, defensive coordinators will deal with the mismatch and just say, look, we've got to stop the passing threat here. We will throw a less physical corner on that tight end, hoping that somehow he can just prevent some big plays in the passing game. Well, you don't have to do that when you've got Isaiah Simmons. Simmons can match up very, very well against any type of receiving tight end in the National Football League. I don't care if it's a Travis Kelce, who is a premier threat, or if it's a Cade Otton, who right now is a key weapon in the Buccaneers' attack. So it should be interesting to see if the Giants decide, based on a matchup, that Isaiah Simmons needs to get a slew of more snaps so that he can contain this tight end and basically attempt to take him out of the game. I'm be interested to watch this for sure. Now, the other key matchup that I think I'm going to watch, and let's just call this one 2A, just for the heck of it, because it's on offense as well, and it's simply a sentimental favorite. Sterling Shepard, the former Giant who caught nearly 400 passes during his 8 years with Big Blue, came out of retirement. Baker Mayfield, his Oklahoma teammate in college, called him and said, hey, why don't you come on down? Well, remember, there's been injuries in that receiving core down in Tampa Bay. And so Shep has 16 catches for 166 yards, and he had a touchdown grab in the game against the Atlanta Falcons. He right now is the starting receiver on the right side of the Buccaneers offense. Well, that would be the territory manned by Cordell Flott, and Flott has gotten over a little bit of his bumps and bruises. So let's see. Flott knows Shep from when they were teammates here with the Giants. That could be a fun matchup to watch simply because of Sterling Shepard's history with the Giants organization. But I won't officially call that a key matchup to watch. I'm not sure how much impact that will have on winning and losing in the game, but it's certainly going to be a fun one to get a look at. The third key matchup, the real third key matchup to watch, is Levante David, the Buccaneers linebacker who I mentioned earlier. There's no doubt that he's not the same player he was when he was a revered Pro Bowl talent. From what I understand, the folks in Tampa say that his range has been diminished. He's not as quick and not as fast, and that's to be expected. Again, I think he's re-signed there a number of times. People keep thinking that maybe his clock is going to run out, but then he re-signs and re-signs and re-signs. He is certainly still the heart and soul in terms of emotion and in terms of what they want to do, even if maybe his play isn't quite up to where it has been in the past. I've got Levante David with a big matchup against Tyrone Tracy because we know that Tracy has the ability to turn on the jets. He's got quickness, he's got jukes, And we've seen him hit that second gear once he gets through the first level and turns in big plays in the running game. That's one of the reasons why he's got 3 100-yard rushing efforts over the course of the 6 games that he's been the Giants' primary back. So let's see what Tyrone Tracy can do if the Giants can get him to the second level of the defense and he can maneuver his way around Levante David and make things a whole lot easier if that running game has got it going for young quarterback Tommy DeVito. So the Big Blue Breakdown will be back on Monday morning when we'll have the New York Giants game balls and gassers on offense, defense, and special teams following Sunday's game at MetLife Stadium against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm Paul Dottino, and we'll see you next time.